In the age of ancients, the world was unformed, shrouded by fog.
Dark Souls Remastered is my favorite video game. I am not alone with this. In fact, as you might know, it is treated as one of, if not the best video games of all time, winning uncountable awards left and right. I like it so much that I play it a lot, even doing some challenge runs here and there, like no death runs. For that, I plan out routes in advance that I will run again and again, tweaking and retrying them until I make it. This is a similar pattern I've observed with many streamers and players preparing for challenge runs like these. All of these efforts had two things in common. First, planning the routes through Notepad, Excel or something similar. And in streamers' cases, having their mods auto-check their progress or having to do it manually. This sucks and I'm going to do something about it. The goal is a tool that you can open on your second monitor to show you exactly what's next and to track the current status of the run. You should be able to create, edit and share routes through it. This is also what I've been experimenting with for the past months or even years. It got pretty advanced after a few restarts and a lot of research, but because I was just experimenting I never did anything properly. So the complexity and burden of faulty abstractions and wrong decisions led to the codebase becoming very unmaintainable and the iteration speed just suffered heavily. That's when I sat down a few weeks ago and thought to myself, I've been experimenting on this for way too long without having anything to show for it. It's time to log in and deliver software. So, if I learned one thing in the last attempts, it's that you can't start by attacking the final goal immediately. The first MVP is going to be something way simpler than just described, to get into development and have something to test, use and release ASAP. This MVP will be an automatic item checklist for now. No routing, just checking off items from a list. This is going to be implemented by dividing our software into three parts. The first part runs natively on the user's machine. It's going to hook into the game's memory and read the event flags the game uses to communicate the status of item pickups. These flags then get sent to the second part, a web app via a WebSocket. The web app is primarily concerned with user login, communication and displaying information. It first forwards the event flags to the backend, which is the third part of the app. The backend then validates the user and stores the collection data into a database. The frontend then updates its list for the current user and checks off all newly collected items. I'm now going to take a short detour into the more technical side of things, so feel free to skip to the next section if you are not interested in that. The native binary is written in Rust, the web app is written in Angular and the backend is built with Ktor. I handle CI/CD with GitHub Actions, where I definitely need to host my own runners after this, as I ran out of storage halfway through the first month and had to switch to deploying manually, which was a real pain, but yeah. I host the app using my own GitOps tool. Check out the previous video if you haven't seen that yet. And let's go into some more detail for the native binary. The native part is inspired by several existing tools like SoulSplitter or Carmel's 100% tracker. It finds the address of the desired event flag and reads it as an integer into a vec, before sending it onto a tungstenite WebSocket. I initially intended for the native part to hook into the game with the DLL injection to use a push-based event flag reading approach instead of polling, but Windows Defender really did not like that, so I went with a polling approach, which has slightly worse performance, but is still quite quick and honestly much easier to maintain and develop. The Angular part is pretty dumb, it's like the very definition of a thin client, so I'm going to skip it in this section because there's nothing fancy going on in there. But the backend is an entirely different story. It's pretty neat. I used hexagonal architecture to divide it into several use cases, which makes it very navigable. I also tried to use test-driven development for the most part, although I have to re-add some tests in the next iteration because I started slacking off against the end, but yeah. I decided to use raw JDBC instead of something like JPA, since ORMs don't work well with my architectural style, and my hate for JPA is a topic for another time. But in the architecture diagram you can clearly see the different use cases in the backend and the data flow associated with them, like all the stuff related to users, or all the stuff related to item pickups. Now, this is the result. This already looks great, but feels a little empty, doesn't it? Right now the tool itself works well, but we have to populate it with concrete data. For that, I played through the entire game, writing down every item there is and the corresponding event flag, and added that information into the tool. It was honestly pretty refreshing to get a change from editing and coding to just play the game for a few days in peace, so I'm looking forward to doing more like that in the future. And with that, the tool works for what it's supposed to do. The native tool might still trigger a warning that I'm not a trusted developer because I'm broke, surprise, but at least Windows no longer thinks it's a virus, so yay, I guess. Apart from that, you can use the app at this domain. There's also a bug tracker linked in the description below where you can report any issues you find when trying it out yourself. Now that we have basic MVP running, it's time to extend the feature set. But before I can tackle that, I first have to take care of some infrastructure and housekeeping chores. Self-hosted action runners are top priority, and apart from that, I've collected about 20 small tickets that need solving to guarantee a maintainable and clean codebase, which I definitely need to keep my sanity. After that, we will probably hack away at implementing actual routing. If you're interested in that, then feel free to tune in next time.